The hotel lobby glimmered with soft golden lights, the kind that blurred the line between glamour and illusion. Music from the rooftop lounge echoed faintly down the marble hallway. As Claire adjusted her diamond-studded clutch and looked back at Daniel, her husband of 8 years. He was straightening the collar of his navy blazer, the same one he wore on their anniversary 3 years ago. She used to adore the way he dressed up just for her. Tonight it felt familiar, comfortable, predictable. "You ready?" Claire asked, her voice light but distant. Daniel nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, you look amazing." She did. Hair swept into a soft twist, satin dress clinging to her like it was tailored by candlelight. But the words felt routine, and something in her eyes hinted that she knew it too. They stepped into the elevator. He reached for her hand. She let him hold it, but her fingers stayed limp in his. The rooftop was already buzzing. Glittering skyline behind the glass panels, soft laughter, jazz pulsing underneath a warm breeze. A-listers mingled by the bar. Claire's eyes darted like a teenager's on prom night. Daniel followed her gaze to the far end of the lounge, where a familiar face leaned against the railing, surrounded by admirers. Nathan Calloway, actor, recently single, the man whose brooding smile graced perfume ads and late-night interviews. Claire's breath caught. "Is that—" "Yeah," Daniel said flatly. "That's him." Before he could say more, Claire was walking, hips swaying with a confidence he hadn't seen in a while. She didn't turn to ask if he was coming. Daniel stayed behind. He stood alone for a moment before ordering a drink he didn't want. Claire's laugh rang across the lounge. She was talking to Nathan now, eyes wide, hand brushing his arm like they were old friends. Nathan smiled, that practiced, smoldering smile. Daniel's stomach knotted. He tried not to look. He tried to remember the last time Claire laughed like that with him. Tried to remember when she last leaned in, close to whisper something that wasn't about errands or schedules or what time the dog had to be walked. He didn't remember. Claire wasn't doing anything wrong, not exactly. She hadn't touched Nathan inappropriately, hadn't said anything scandalous. But there was something in the way she tilted her head, the way her dress clung under the lights, the way she smiled like she wanted to be seen by someone who wasn't her husband. Daniel sipped his drink. It tasted like regret. He drifted toward the back, pretending to take in the view. The glass walls overlooked the city, a blur of headlights and night. Behind him, Claire and Nathan were now sitting at the bar, laughing. Nathan leaned closer. Claire didn't pull back. That was when she touched his knee. Daniel's breath left his chest in a slow, quiet collapse. His fingers tightened around the glass until he remembered where he was. He turned, walked past a table of strangers, and stepped into the dimly lit corridor leading to the lounge's side balcony. It was quiet there, just the sound of wind and the muffled beat of music behind the walls. "Rough night?" a voice asked. He turned. A woman was sitting on a bench near the edge, legs crossed, eyes curious. Her dress was black and simple, but her presence made it look like velvet. She wasn't young in that naive, sparkling way. She was aware, calm. Daniel hesitated. "Yeah, you could say that." She patted the space beside her. "I won't ask, but you're welcome to sit." He looked back through the glass, saw Claire still smiling at Nathan like she'd just discovered the concept of fun. Then he sat down. "I'm Elise," the woman said. "Daniel." They shook hands. Hers was warm. They sat in silence for a minute. "Sometimes," Elise said, "the people we love forget how to look at us, not because they don't care anymore, just because life gets loud." Daniel stared ahead. "Or maybe they stop caring and get distracted by shiny things." She nodded like she knew exactly what he meant. "Maybe. Or maybe they're just trying to feel seen. It's not always about betrayal. Sometimes it's just loneliness. The kind that sneaks in even when you're standing next to the person you love." Daniel looked at her then, noticed the kindness in her expression, the way she spoke without judgment. "Are you a therapist or something?" "No," she smiled. "Just someone who's been where you are." Inside, Claire was still at the bar. Nathan leaned close, said something in her ear. She laughed, blushed. Daniel looked away. Do you think, he asked quietly, that someone can love you and still make you feel invisible? Elise didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was soft. I think someone can love you, but forget how to show it. And I think being invisible makes us desperate to feel anything else. Daniel nodded slowly. For the next 20 minutes, they sat in comfortable silence. No flirting, no confessions. Just two people on the edge of something unnamed. Eventually, Elise stood. If you want to talk, I'll be around. Or, if you just want someone to sit with while you breathe, that's okay too. She touched his shoulder lightly. Not a move, just a gesture. She walked back inside, disappearing into the crowd. Daniel stayed behind, the night pressing in like a question he didn't want to answer. Inside, Claire was alone at the bar now, Nathan nowhere to be seen. She looked around, confused for a moment. Then her eyes found Daniel through the glass. He didn't move. She stood, brushing her dress smooth, and made her way toward him. He turned back to the city lights. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him wanted to scream, ask her why she needed a stranger's attention to feel alive. But mostly, he wanted to understand why the person he gave everything to looked like she belonged to someone else tonight. He didn't know yet if forgiveness was possible, but he knew revenge wouldn't make the pain go away. Still, the ache remained. She approached slowly, heels clicking softly on the stone floor of the balcony, like she wasn't sure if she was welcome. Claire stopped a few feet away from Daniel, arms folded gently across her chest, not in defiance, but as if she were trying to shield herself from a cold she hadn't expected. Hey, she said. Daniel didn't look at her. The city lights kept his gaze. Hey. A beat passed. The wind brushed her hair across her cheek. She tucked it behind her ear, watching him carefully. I was looking for you, she added, quieter. You seemed busy, he replied. Claire's eyes flickered. She took another step closer. Daniel, I was just talking. You touched his leg. The words came out flat. Too calm to be angry, too calm to mean nothing. You laughed like you forgot I existed. And then you touched his leg. Claire flinched. It wasn't like that, wasn't it? Daniel turned now, looking at her for the first time. His face wasn't cruel, just tired. I saw it, Claire. You leaned in like he was the most interesting person you'd met in years. And maybe he was. Maybe I'm just boring now. Don't say that, she whispered, stepping even closer. Why not? He asked, his voice barely above the breeze. Isn't that what tonight was about? Proving you still have it? That someone like Nathan Calloway still looks at you like you're 25 and single? Claire looked away, blinking hard. I didn't come out tonight looking to flirt with anyone. No, he said, tilting his head. Because from where I stood, that's exactly what you were doing. Her voice wavered. He came up to me, Daniel. He started the conversation. And you finished it, with a hand on his knee. Silence stretched between them like a crack in glass. Claire looked at the ground, then at the city. Then, finally, back at her husband. I don't know what I was doing, she said honestly. I liked the attention. I haven't felt wanted in a long time. Daniel stared. So you needed a stranger to remind you you're desirable? Claire didn't answer right away. She looked like she wanted to cry but wouldn't let herself. I needed to feel something, she said at last. You don't see me anymore, Daniel. You look at me like I'm part of the furniture, like I'll always be here. I miss being noticed. Daniel stepped back, stunned by the clarity of her words. You think I don't notice you? She nodded faintly. Not the way you used to. He let out a breath, rubbed his face. Claire, I come home early to cook dinner with you. I cancel trips so I don't miss our weekends. I ask about your work, your friends, even that yoga instructor you say hates your posture. I know, she said, voice cracking. You're present, but I don't always feel like you're there, emotionally, intimately. We've become routine. Daniel looked at her for a long time. And your solution was to laugh too loud at a celebrity's joke and let him flirt with you? Claire winced. I made a mistake. He didn't reply. His silence made her take another step forward. "Do you remember the last time we danced?" she asked, eyes glassy. He blinked. "What? Danced?" she repeated. "Not at someone's wedding. Not swaying in the kitchen while waiting for the pasta to boil. I mean, really danced." He tried to remember. He couldn't. And that hurt more than he expected. Claire looked down, brushing a tear from her cheek. "I wanted you to look at me like he did tonight. Like I mattered. Like I wasn't invisible." "You're not invisible, Claire," Daniel said softly. "But what you did, it felt like betrayal." She nodded. "I know." More silence, more wind, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses somewhere inside. "I didn't do anything physical," she said. "It didn't go that far." "But it went far enough," Daniel replied. Her lip trembled. "I didn't want to hurt you." "You did," he whispered. They stood there, the space between them filled with 8 years of memories, 2 years of quiet detachment, and 1 night of emotional chaos. "I met someone out here," Daniel said suddenly. "Not like that, just someone who listened." Claire tensed. "What do you mean?" "She didn't flirt. She didn't even ask what was wrong. She just sat beside me and made me feel seen. Like you used to." Claire's voice was hollow. "Are you saying you want her now?" He looked at her. "Number, I'm saying I remembered what it's like to have a woman next to me who's really there, who listens without judging, who doesn't look past me." Claire looked away, hurt creeping into her expression. "So, what now?" Daniel leaned against the railing. "I don't know." Claire took a shaky breath. "I didn't mean to let things get like this. I didn't realize how far apart we'd grown." "I didn't either," he said. "But tonight made it pretty clear." She stepped beside him, standing close without touching. "Do you want to fix this?" He hesitated. "Do you?" Claire nodded slowly. "More than anything." "But you still need strangers to make you feel alive?" he asked. She looked up at him, eyes wide. "Number, I need you to help me feel alive again." Daniel searched her face. There was no smugness there, no denial, just guilt and a fragile hope. Inside, the music changed to something softer, a slow rhythm, mellow and aching. Claire turned toward the sound, then looked back at him. "Will you dance with me?" she asked. He blinked. "Now." "Yes," she said, "now." Daniel stared at her a moment longer. The pain in his chest still pulsed, the images from earlier still fresh. But something about the way she asked, quiet, vulnerable, honest, made him hesitate. He offered his hand. Claire took it. They walked inside slowly, the crowd around them fading into a blur. They found a corner of the rooftop where the music was loud enough to cover their silence but not drown their thoughts. Daniel placed a hand on her waist. She rested hers on his shoulder. They moved cautiously at first, like people learning each other again. There was no elegance, no grand performance, just 2 people rediscovering the language of movement, of proximity, of trying. As they swayed, Claire closed her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He said nothing, but his grip around her tightened just enough to let her know he heard. The music drifted on, and so did they. Later, when they returned to their suite, no fireworks waited, no grand forgiveness, just the quiet murmur of water running in the bathroom, the soft thud of shoes being taken off, the silence between a couple too tired to fight, but not ready to give up. Daniel stood at the window in a t-shirt, staring at the skyline. Claire emerged in a robe, her eyes catching his reflection. "I meant what I said," she offered. "I know," he said. A long pause. "I don't want to lose you," she added. Daniel turned to her, still unsure if trust could be fully restored. "Then don't give me a reason to walk away." Claire swallowed hard. "I won't." He nodded once, then walked past her toward the bed. They slept in the same space, bodies not quite touching, but not turned away either. A quiet truce between 2 people still bleeding from unspoken wounds. Some things couldn't be healed overnight, but sometimes the first step was simply staying. The morning light filtered through the floor-length curtains, casting soft lines across the hotel suite. The world outside was already awake. Cars humming, people beginning their routines, oblivious to the quiet fracture inside room 1902. Claire woke first. She lay on her side, facing Daniel's back. He was still asleep, or pretending to be. His breathing was steady, but his body stiff, as if relaxation would mean lowering his guard too soon. She studied the shape of him, the curve of his shoulder, the rhythm of his breath. It was a body she knew as well as her own. Yet somehow, last night made it feel unfamiliar. Like the man beside her was someone she had once known deeply, but had let drift. She didn't speak, just watched. When Daniel stirred minutes later, he didn't turn to face her. He sat up slowly, rubbing his face with both hands. Then he reached for the glass of water on the nightstand. Still, he said nothing. Claire waited. When it was clear he wasn't going to speak first, she sat up too. "I know this is going to take time," she said quietly. Daniel nodded, his eyes fixed on the glass in his hands. "I don't expect you to forgive me just because we danced last night," she continued. I needed to say it again. "I'm sorry." His voice was hoarse. "It's not just about what happened last night. It's the buildup. The months of drifting, the way you checked out and didn't notice I was trying to hold things together with duct tape and hope." Claire sighed. "I know. I checked out emotionally, I did, and then last night, I let that attention go to my head." He finally looked at her, tired eyes meeting hers. "Do you understand what that felt like? Watching you light up for someone else?" "I do now," she said. "And I hate that I let you see me like that. I hate that I was like that." Daniel leaned back against the headboard, his voice steadier now. "I don't think you're a bad person, Claire. But something's broken between us. You can't patch that up with one apology." She nodded. "I'm not asking for a patch. I'm asking for a chance to rebuild." He looked away. "I don't even know what rebuilding looks like anymore." They sat in silence. The kind that isn't empty, but loaded with too much. After a few moments, Claire slid out of bed and walked to the window. She wrapped her arms around herself. "I've been afraid," she said. "Afraid that we peaked too early. That the best parts of us were already over. And instead of facing that fear with you, I started looking for distractions." Daniel remained quiet. "I thought maybe if someone else found me desirable, it would remind me I still mattered. But it didn't," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "It just made me feel more hollow. And I hated myself for liking the attention, even if it was just for a moment." Daniel stood slowly. "You're right about one thing," he said. "We did drift, but I was here, every day, trying. You say I don't see you anymore, but I think you stopped letting me." That hit her harder than anything else. "I want to try again," Claire said. "Not just pretend everything's fine. I mean, really try. Therapy, time, honesty." Daniel walked to the window and stood beside her. Trying again means rebuilding from a place of truth, not performance, not just checking boxes. "I'm ready," she said. "I'll do whatever it takes." He studied her face. The vulnerability, the regret, the sincerity. Then he nodded. Once. Slight, but real. Later that afternoon, they checked out of the hotel. The lobby felt different now. Less glamorous, more ordinary. Neither of them spoke on the elevator ride down. When the doors opened, Daniel paused in the hallway, glancing toward the lounge area out of habit. That's when he saw her, Elise. She was sitting in a leather chair near the bar, a coffee in hand, reading a book. The same calm expression, the same quiet awareness. Their eyes met for a moment. She smiled. Not a seductive smile, not a suggestive one, just warm. Claire followed his gaze. "Is that the woman you mentioned?" Daniel nodded. "Did anything happen?" "No," he said. "She listened, that's all." Claire watched the woman for a moment, then looked back at him. "Do you want to say goodbye?" Daniel hesitated, then shook his head. "I already did. She helped me remember something about myself. That I still have value even if you forget sometimes. That doesn't need to be anything more than what it was." Claire took a breath and nodded. "Okay." They stepped outside together. The sun was warm. Too warm for a spring afternoon, but it felt good. They drove in silence for a while. No music, just the sound of tires on pavement and the occasional sigh. "I want us to be better," Claire said quietly as they passed a familiar intersection. "Not just return to what we were. I want us to build something stronger, more honest. Daniel didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice was soft but firm. Then we need to start from the truth. No more pretending everything's fine when it's not. No more escaping into distractions. Claire nodded. Agreed. He glanced at her. That means when you're hurting, you tell me. Even if it's messy. Even if it's hard. I will, she said, and you too. No more holding it in. He gave a small nod. Deal. They drove a little farther, then Daniel pulled into a quiet park near their neighborhood. One of those spots they used to go to when they were still learning each other. Before mortgage payments, before late-night arguments over nothing, before the weight of routine dulled the color of their connection. They sat on a bench under a tree. You remember when we used to come here just to talk? Claire asked. He nodded. You used to bring that horrible instant coffee in a thermos. You liked that coffee. He smiled faintly. I liked you. She looked at him. Do you still? He was quiet for a moment. Then he answered, not with certainty, but with honesty. I want to, and I think I still do. But love isn't the issue. Trust is. Claire took his hand. Then let's rebuild that. One step at a time. Daniel let her hold his hand. He didn't squeeze back, not yet. But he didn't pull away either. That night, they didn't sleep in separate rooms. But they didn't fall into each other like nothing had happened either. They talked, long into the evening, about the silence that had crept between them, about the little things they let slide, about the moments they chose avoidance over truth. They talked about the loneliness of being married but disconnected. They cried a little, they laughed once or twice, about things that had nothing to do with their pain, and then, eventually, they slept. Together. No distance, but no illusions either. In the weeks that followed, they went to therapy. They scheduled time not just for dates, but for real conversation. They started small, meals without phones, walks after dinner, music in the mornings. It wasn't perfect. Some days were better than others. But they showed up. Both of them. And that mattered more than anything else. Claire didn't flirt with strangers anymore. Daniel didn't pretend he wasn't hurt when he was. They didn't try to go back to who they were. Instead, they chose to become something new, something honest. And in that, they found their way back to each other, not as the people they used to be, but as the people they were becoming. Still flawed, still learning, still trying, together.